Meantime, a former soldier who's pledged to run in 3 of the world's most dangerous countries is preparing to take on a marathon across the Afghan desert. Jordan Wylie has already run a 10-kilometre race in Somalia and a half marathon in Iraq to raise money for children affected by war. He's with us now. Hi, thanks for joining us. Tell us about Running Dangerously.
So Running Dangerously is a charity project where I'm running through what are perceived as 3 of the most dangerous countries in the world. And ultimately, it's about raising awareness and funds for children who, for me, are the real victims of war and conflict. It's about providing them with access to education in order to inspire some hope and hopefully change their lives.
How dangerous is it?
I think these are, without a doubt, 3 countries that still have stability issues, but ultimately, I also want to challenge perhaps the perception of these countries and the narratives and the stories that people might associate with them, because actually, like most places in the world, there's also some very beautiful parts of these countries, and I want to be able to show certainly the Western media and those who might sit at home watching programmes like this, when quite often all we see is bombs and bullets and sort of negative sort of things around them.
What precautions do you have to take?
So I'm a former soldier, so I've spent a lot of time in countries like this.
Have you been to any of these countries?
I've been to all 3 of these countries, right. And worked or served.
What was it like when you were there?
Well, when I was there, it was a bit more dangerous than perhaps it's going to be, hopefully, when I get there this time, because it was in a war or a conflict at the time. So I'm under no illusions that they're not necessarily the safest of countries by any means, but I will take all the precautions possible. I'll be continually assessing the risks at all times. I'll be using my own networks in country to help make sure we mitigate any possible problems that we might come across.
What sort of problems do you have to prepare for?
I think there's obviously the obvious security risks that people would associate with these countries, but as well as them, I'm not a professional athlete, so I'm going to be running in my first ever marathon, which is a challenge in itself for me.
Why don't you just do the London Marathon or something instead and get people to sponsor you?
Yeah, that has been said a few times, but I want to get out there and not only fly the flag for children who are victims of war, but I was also diagnosed with epilepsy 1.5 years ago, so I want to fly the flag for people with epilepsy.
Let's just back up here. So not only are you running in areas where you might get killed because you don't know what you're running onto, whether there are going to be mines there, whether somebody might shoot you, you've also got epilepsy.
I've also got epilepsy, yeah, so...
What triggers your epilepsy?
So actually, it was on another expedition in the Horn of Africa where I caught dengue fever on a...
Yeah, so... Isn't that the worst thing? I had dengue fever. Isn't it the worst thing ever?
It was terrible. And it was at the same time when Ebola affected a large part of Africa. So I was on an Ebola ward for 2 weeks in quarantine, which was an experience in itself. But fortunately, I recovered. But 3 years later, it triggered through the blood tests and things that I'd transpired with this epilepsy after a seizure linked back to dengue. So... That's what I'm there to do. I'm there to show people that whatever life throws at you, whatever the challenges are...
So what if you have an epileptic fit while you're in Somalia or Afghanistan?
I'm going to put measures in place to make sure that they can be dealt with in the worst-case scenario. Clearly, there's a risk because it's quite a remote region I'm going to be going to, but I'm going to be training the people around me, some of the local Afghans who will be able to support me in a worst-case scenario. I'm going to have support from some of the big medical evacuation companies.
What support team have you got in place?
Nil, in terms of on the ground with me. I'm going to be there solo. It's a solo project and a solo effort.
Are you mad? Yes, just a little bit, I suppose, is what some of your friends and family would say. How much have you raised so far?
So we've raised just over £50,000 so far. I want to raise 100,000. So if anyone's out there looking to sponsor me,
please do. How do they do that?
So they can get in touch with me direct or follow me on Twitter, or we have a Just Giving page. But we're trying to raise as much as possible. But I know we're not going to change the world, but I think we can change the world for a handful of children out there. And if we can, we should. And if we can inspire some hope, we can change their lives through education.
Were you frightened at all in the other 2 countries that you've already run in?
Yeah, I think so. I think, even as a soldier, when you serve in those places, as well as the adrenaline and the excitement, there's always that apprehension and you're a bit scared of the unknown. I think nobody likes the unknown because as former military, we like to prepare and plan as best as possible, but that's why it's called Running Dangerously, I guess. And
your military background has helped you? I mean, we're looking at your training as we're chatting to you.
Yeah. I think the
military... What did you do in the army?
So I was in the cavalry, so I was in a tank regiment initially, and then I worked a lot in intelligence, which took me on to hunted.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
But those skills you learn in the military, the sort of the courage, the respect, the discipline, these are all key attributes that carry you, through all aspects of life when they're installed in you.
OK. So you know a lot about me, but I don't know very much about you. Tell our viewers how that happened.
So I am one of the new hunters on Channel 4's Hunted. I was brought in for the last 2 series, which will air in hopefully October, November and probably January series 4. And I've been living in your life for quite a few weeks.
You were rifling through my bedroom and everything,
literally,
weren't you?
literally.
Didn't catch me there, did you?
I didn't, but my friends did.
Well, I can't give too much away, but what I can tell you is that it's incredibly entertaining at the end is all you need to know. What are you going to do next? Rowing Dangerously?
Rowing Dangerously, which is another crazy project next year where I'm going to be, hopefully, touch wood, the first person to row solo and unsupported across the Bab el-Mandab Straits at the gateway to the Gulf of Aden. So another area that's sort of been affected by conflict, by instability in the region, as well as the sharks, the rebels and all the other issues around there. So hopefully I'm going to row across there and set a new world first.
How are you going to be able to do that without a support network in place, given all the other challenges that we know that you face? I mean, you're going to have to bring people on the ground or in the water along with you as well, just in case you do have this epileptic fit or whatever. I'm sure you won't, but...
Yeah, so again, I will have lots of contingencies in place in terms of communications with the outside world in the worst case scenario. There's always an element of risk with any project like this, and we can only do our best to mitigate them, but without a doubt, it's still a risky project, and I'll do my best to overcome all challenges and show the world that you can achieve anything if you really want to.
If you really want to. And how do people support you if they want to? You've got a Just Giving page, you said.
Yeah, we've got a Just Giving page. You can find more information on my own website, jordanwylie.org, and it'll tell you lots about the project and how you can get involved.
And how this money will be used?
Absolutely, yeah. So one of the things for me personally, as well as me being the person who fundraises, perhaps in the UK or wherever I am, I'm also the person who goes out there, delivers whatever it might be, whether it's tech books, school books, teaching lessons. I'm trying to make the journey from a sort of a donor and their experience all the way to the gift aid on the ground, you know, one process that is very transparent, because I think there's been a lot of negatives surrounding the charitable sector. So for me, it's very important that if you donate that £1 in the shopping centre, in the bucket, wherever it might be, you see exactly where that's going, because I've been quite surprised, and I don't want to open another can of worms, but I've been quite surprised how much money goes into charities that doesn't actually go to where the donor thinks it's going. But maybe that's another subject for another day.
Well, come back. When do you go to Afghanistan?
I'm going to be going out in the next 30 days.
30 days,
yeah,
okay.
We don't want to publish the dates or specifics because of security, but
of course.
Yeah, in the next 30 days, I'll hopefully be there and back.
So, will you come back and talk to us about it?
Absolutely, with pleasure.
Take lots of pictures.
Yes,
it's good to talk to you. Thanks very much
Thanks,
for
Kay.
joining us.
You.
Thanks.